And
Yeah.
you're right, if you don't sell, so if people don't sell their Bitcoin this time around when we get to the
Yeah.
top of this bull run, they'll be
Mm,
the same. It'll be like it was it wasn't real profit, was it?
yeah. Exactly. That
Yeah.
was it was Lindsay J. Fox, the trucking magnate in
Yep.
Australia. I think it was him who that when there was a crash, probably in the 80s, might have been in this century, I don't know. But they said, "Oh, you've lost this much money." And he said, "No, I haven't."
Yeah, I haven't sold
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, haven't
Yep.
sold yet. Yeah.
Mm,
So once the money's committed, it's
mm,
committed until you pull it back out again. And that's the same with
mm,
any investment. It's the same
mm,
with training courses and everything else. Once
mm,
it's committed,
mm,
it's committed. And then if you
mm,
have the access to it to get it out, then you can get it out. And
mm,
then it becomes yours. Then it's profit or loss or,
mm,
yeah.
mm.
Mm.
Well,
So,
the money that I gave to scammers, I just considered that my university course in trading.
yep. Yeah.
Like
Take
that's how that
lessons.
was what I. And here's the thing, I had the money to lose at the
Yeah.
time.
Mm.
I didn't invest more than like because I know there's somebody that I've come across who actually took out a loan and got scammed, and they're still like 5 years later still paying off the money that they got scammed. Whereas I didn't do anything like that. Like the money I gave to scammers was actual
Yeah.
money I had in the bank.
Cash.
So
Mm.
and but
Yeah.
I managed to with in well longer term trading, I managed to get all of that out. So
Yeah.
I actually got back all of the money that I
Lost.
got scammed. Yeah, in Australian money,
Yeah.
the money that I
It's
lost.
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, people borrowing for all sorts of reasons. These payday loans, I hate the ads, let alone anything else. Yeah, I
There's
don't know
something
how
to be
to.
said for our very old-fashioned lay-by, where the item that you want is at the store and you have to go in, whatever
Mm,
payment you've set up weekly or fortnightly,
mm,
pay the person and you
yeah,
can't pick it up until you've paid for it. So
yeah.
it teaches you about budgeting, it
Mm.
teaches you to put off the immediate gratification.
Yeah, that's the
You
big thing because our
know?
culture is so fast now. Everybody
Mm,
gets immediate gratification with nearly everything they do and have and see. And then
mm,
we're saying, you can't have a car until you've saved up the money, and they're just, it doesn't compute with some of the young ones.
mm,
So,
mm,
yeah,
mm, mm,
yeah. Don't know. Remember the old envelope system?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Rent, food, all
Mm.
yeah, and
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Or
yeah.
jars. We used
Jars.
to have a holiday jar, yeah,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
the envelopes. We used to have a folder actually with envelopes in it, and I'd
Yep.
put hole punch the envelopes
Mm.
and put in my folder.
Yep.
And I had each of the envelopes labeled like
Mm.
electricity, gas,
Yeah,
whatever it was, water,
there's some
car,
alternative
current.
systems. Yeah. Like if you're on Centrelink and that you can have your rent deducted automatically, you can get power, water, other things deducted automatically every fortnight. So
Mm,
that's helping
mm,
people in one way, except it's not teaching them because it's taken
mm,
out of their hands. So
mm.
yeah.
Well, I don't know whether I've told you about when I first moved back here and had to go through the whole rigmarole of electricity. Have we talked about that?
No, I don't
And
think we
getting an
have.
electricity account. So that was really interesting because I was a little bit, well, I went to because I'm in the state of Victoria in Australia. So I went to the state government website to, like they've got an energy website to find
Yeah.
out who did they recommend, etc. And it was really weird. So there was these different names that I'd never even heard of. I went and had a look at them all, and I just thought this is really odd. But anyway, I kept plowing through and finally came to one that I thought, oh well, maybe I'll choose that. Started to do the whole sign up process. Then what I realized was that the what do you call it? The type of account that you set up was like, say it was because I'm a one person in the house.
Mm.
So therefore they considered you low usage, and you had to choose whether you're low, medium or high or whatever anyway. So I would have been on low usage because just one person
Yeah.
told. And so I choose this plan, and then I find out I can't remember how much it was now, whether it was, who knows, $90 a week, $110 a week. I don't even know anymore. But you didn't have a choice about that, though. You had to pay this amount every month, and um, no matter what your electricity or gas was. And then at the end of the cycle, which was either 2 months or 3 months, it would let you know whether your account was now in credit or debit or whatever.
Mm.
And of course, if your account's in credit, then at some point you can actually get your money back out. But you had to then kind of apply to get your money out. And I just
Mm.
thought, really? So I stopped that process and then
Yep.
went and had a look at all the others. And pretty much all of them that were on this website that they were
Mhm.
recommending was this type of thing. So it's encouraging people because, well, the cost of electricity and gas here in Australia is very high.
Yes.
So they're trying to help people to budget by
No, they're not.
locking them into these monthly plans. Anyway, so I thought, blow the government website. So I just went straight to Google and it's like, and then that was when I come up with some of the old names like Momentum
Mm.
Energy and Red
Yeah.
Energy and all of these different ones that are just normal. You
Yeah.
just sign up for your account. You
And
can
paid.
choose whether you want it monthly or
Yeah.
um, I think because one of
Quarterly.
them comes 2 monthly and one of them comes quarterly. Can't remember. I think
Mm.
it's the electricity's quarterly, but I could have signed up for a monthly account
Yeah.
if I wanted it. And then, yeah, they just come and they read, well, electricity is smart readers, but the
Yeah.
gas, they do come and do a physical reading still.
Yeah.
And then they send you a bill and you pay your bill.
I've always questioned some of those systems, and I can't think what it was, whether it was to do with real estate or something else. But I thought, you're just playing the short-term money market with people's money. You're just making more
Mm,
money because you can't account for it for electricity use. So you've got this gap. Where does that go? Where does that gap go? Well, it goes into their
mm,
coffers. Are they, how are they
mm.
capitalizing on it? Because they clearly are. They won't be letting it just sit there, that's for sure.
Well, this was the thing that I don't like about my accounts being in credit because I think, well, if somebody's going to get the interest on that money, I want it to be me.
Yes. Mm. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, so I'm too narky to let my
Yeah.
money sit in somebody else's
Yeah.
bank account.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because if I look at my family,
Mm,
I'm the only one that sticks with budgets and really is around that sort of stuff, like you're saying.
mm,
No one else is. Like Tony hadn't opened his mail when I met him 28 years ago in the pet shop. And so his Yellow Pages ad had run out because he didn't open the letter and pay the bill and stuff like that. That's why I took over the finances. My dad ran the finances for mum and dad, and
mm.
mum bitched about it all the time, but then didn't want to learn how to write a check when wanted to teach her. And my sister had Centrelink or even other government departments managing her money for her. So, and my daughter and her partner, yeah, struggle as well. So we're not, once again, we're outliers. Yeah, we're not standard. So maybe,
We're
yeah.
beyond convention.
Yes, that's true though. It's
Yeah,
constantly, yeah,
mm,
yeah,
yeah.
that outside of the
Yeah.
box thinking yeah. So I guess it's obviously a societal need to have it managed that way. But once again, I can't,
Well, that was what I was thinking because
yeah,
there was one of the electricity retailers that was on the government website that I recognised, but all of the others I didn't recognise. So they're new retailers into the market, and obviously they've got some sort of, well, I don't know why, but some sort of, well, it wouldn't be a deal with the government, but
yeah, it's a
they're following some sort of government recommendation or
yeah,
something. obviously, to be put on that website. Maybe that's what it is, that if they follow certain guidelines, then they can be part of the website, maybe. I don't
It
know.
could be, yeah, it could be that
Yeah.
people need their stuff evened out to manage it. So
Yeah.
that's why the government's promoting it. And yeah,
Well, and I don't have a problem with if you just go into like, because what I could do is I could go into my electricity account and I could just set up an automatic debit once a
yep.
week or once a fortnight, however often, you get
Mm.
paid. So I could do that myself, and I don't have a problem with that happening. Or in fact, for some people, that's probably a really good idea
Yeah.
to do that. But to just have this is what your plan is.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
there's just no wriggle room in that. I just
Yeah.
think I didn't like that.
No, no. I think I've got a couple of things currently set up as automatic payments over a period. Phones for one, because it's the same amount every time. So,
Mm,
yeah. And I knew moving forward, if we end up on the pensions, we'll need to manage that.
mm,
But yet, at least it's in our control. So if we come
mm,
unstuck at some stage, I can halve it next month and,
mm,
next fortnight
mm,
and go, no, and I'll have to make that up later if I have to,
mm.
something like that. Yeah.
Well, I put my money aside every fortnight. I get
Mm,
paid fortnightly. So
yeah.
every fortnight, I've already worked out in advance what do I think my electricity bills will be? What do I think my gas bills will be?
Mm,
Slightly hard because I hadn't had a bill for 9 months, like while I was living in South Australia, the bills weren't in my name.
mm,
So, and our usage was different there, but I just went by the usage I'd had prior
mm,
and the bills that I'd had prior. So I worked out according to that, which, hey, I'll be a little bit in front, so that'll be good.
mm. Yeah.
So I might be able to pull it back next year, but I'll continue with what I've worked out for this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I've just got like the bank account I've got, you can just put it in. I've just got a saver called electricity,
Yep.
gas,
Yeah.
internet. Yeah, so it's like an envelope system. And then when
Yeah.
the bill comes in, I just send it off,
There's
pay the
heaps
bill.
of banks doing that now where you can split your bank account into a
Mm.
number of sub accounts. And that's a really good idea as well for people that struggle. So,
Yeah, it's so good, I find. Yeah, well, I just find it's really good. And
yeah.
I have them for, yeah, so electricity, internet, gas, phone. I thought, oh, I need to probably, I've got one for petrol or gas if you're American,
Yeah.
but but I thought, oh, I probably need to add to that registration, car
Yeah.
registration and maintenance. So I
Yeah.
hadn't accounted for that. Suddenly thought
Yeah.
the other day, oh, I need another little bucket. I'll probably just add it into the petrol account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. Just that
But it's a good
ongoing
way
thing.
to budget.
It
Yeah.
is, yeah. And you and I have
Yeah.
both been really broke as sole parents years ago. So we both know that sometimes we've got to calculate how many kilometres we're allowed to drive next fortnight because we had to spend more on, yeah, tyres or something like that. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Exactly.
just pulling up old skills from previous lifetimes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, what it means that if you're able to increase your income, but you can maintain a similar budget, you get ahead a whole lot faster.
Yeah, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly paid off for us. I don't think we're due to pay this house that I'm in now off until next year,
And
and
how long have you been paid for?
a long time because
Mm.
once we were able to put our wage or get higher wages, I put the extra straight in the house because why should
Yeah.
I be paying a bank all that interest that
Mm.
people buy houses don't realize they're going to pay for it. Well, it used to be 3 or 4 times in a lifetime. I'm sure it'd be more now
Mm.
with the amount of interest people pay. But then
Mm.
yeah, well, see, when I first bought a home, I think we started at 14% interest and it went up to 18,
Was that in the 90s?
70s.
Oh, 70s. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was that high in the 70s.
yeah,
I remember either late 80s or early 90s. I remember
it went,
because I didn't have a mortgage, but I had a savings account. Man, my interest was so good.
yeah,
Like every month I was looking at it thinking, whoa, they're giving me this money. But I know other people were really struggling because obviously the opposite of that was very, very high
Yeah.
mortgage rates. Yeah, and I
Mm.
remember they were up over 10%. That
Yeah.
was about 12%, I think,
Yeah.
at the time. Because I remember having a conversation with one of my children when she was thinking about buying a house, and we just talked through it. It's like, well, when you work out how much can you afford, you need to consider that the interest could go up to 10%, is what
Yeah.
we said.
Mm.
So if the interest goes up to 10%, can you still afford the repayment? And so
Yeah.
that's how she worked out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether she used 10%, but that was the principle she used to work out what she could afford. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
And the interest rates might have been high when we came here too. It's that long ago, I can't remember. But
mm,
we obviously secured the loan, and then they certainly went down. So that would have contributed to, because I wasn't going to drop how much I
mm,
pay. We were probably
mm,
given the option, but we could
mm,
afford it. So why would I do that? Yeah.
mm,
And the other thing for people to consider too is if you're looking at a mortgage, make sure you've got a redraw facility for
mm,
emergencies, but don't use it unless it's a real emergency. So
mm,
we've actually come unstuck with one of our business loans because that when our new bank manager looked, he said, "Why did you end up with this? It's awful loan. There's no redraw facility. It means I can't pay it down when I've got extra cash."
mm,
So, and I wanted to be able to pay it down for a while and then draw back. And we didn't
mm,
have that facility. So that means that if you do have an influx of money with a redraw, you can lower your interest for a little while. And then if
mm,
you need it, you pull it back out. So,
mm, mm,
yeah.
mm, mm. Well, and you've got to look at where are we in the landscape, don't you? Because if your money, depending on the interest that you receive in the bank, generally you're going to get less having it sitting in a savings account than the savings you'll make for the interest you're paying on your mortgage.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're getting, like, if your mortgage is 5%, but you're only getting 2.5% in the bank,
Yeah. You're better off
well,
paying
it's
it off your
working a lot.
mortgage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
just
working a
make
lot
sure
harder
you
for
check
you.
first because if you pay it off a bit off and you don't have a redraw facility, that's tough titties. That
Yeah,
money's gone, you can't use it. So, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's knowing all the little, reading this fine print and knowing the ins and outs
Mm,
of your loans. So
mm,
hard
mm,
lessons learnt over decades.
mm. Yeah, well, that's right. That's right. Yeah, well, I most of my life have never owed very much money on credit cards or anything.
Yeah.
Though when I went through university, because I was older, and obviously because I was 44 before I got my first degree, so and I knew that I could only do a very small amount of part-time work, and I still had one dependent at home.
Yep.
So I made sure my credit card was high enough, and I actually planned that I would probably have to go into credit card debt. That was a really scary thing because I'd never owed, oh my God, like I used to
Yeah.
think $2,000 was a lot of money to owe. So, but it was planned. And by the end of it, I remember starting to get slightly uptight as I graduated. When I um, finally graduated, I found it a bit hard to get work at the time other than casual. And I
Oh.
just thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, I thought, oh, I'm going to have to. That was actually when I pivoted and changed the direction that I went
Mm.
and just, but that, so that's how I ended up in adult education actually and not
Yeah.
children's education. Yeah.
Mm. Ah,
And yeah, but once you're in a high paid job, like hardly took me any time to pay that off.
exactly.
That was what my focus was. I reckon within 3 years, I completely paid that down.
Yeah, yeah. And that's another one.
Yeah.
People think they just pay the minimum, but you're just paying interest on interest. And the
Mm,
minimum is set at a ridiculously low level so that the bank
mm,
makes more money. They're not in.
mm.
Yeah. So, yeah, we
Yeah.
have a large credit card available to us for our business, but there's been a couple of expenses over the years in to the tune of 25K. An electrical system had to be completely rebuilt. And we needed a genset, a 65 kVA genset, which is massive. So both of those cost well in the 20,000s.
Mm,
And so we've got access to that should we need to replace something. And then,
mm,
yeah, working seasonally, it was always paid off quickly anyway.
mm,
But
mm,
yeah,
mm. Well, you just got to know what's your earning capacity, don't you? Because, like with the
mm,
credit card, because most people I knew would have thought that was a high risk. Well, and it was a high risk. I can't pretend I wasn't a little bit worried, but
yeah,
I also knew that I did not have qualification prior to it, but by getting this qualification, I could earn higher money. So
yeah,
therefore, I'd be able to afford to pay it off and then get ahead. And within only 5 or 6 years, like I'd paid off all of that, I'd gone overseas on a big holiday, and I'd saved a big enough deposit to get a house mortgage.
yeah. You, what
So,
you've done
oh,
from
and
where you
paid off,
started,
yeah,
yeah,
and paid off my university debt.
yeah, that it's massive. What, yeah, your
Yeah.
trajectory was
So
just like
yeah,
so,
so you've just got to plan these things, don't you? And
mm,
sometimes there's a risk involved.
yeah,
Now, for me, my even though I had one dependent child, she almost wasn't independent anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like
mm,
she was very close. She must have been 17 when I started
mm,
my, yeah, she must have been 17 when I was going through my last year at uni.
yep,
So,
mm,
and it was that last year that I took the gamble because I had
mm.
to do the fourth year of education to get
Ah,
the
yes,
education
yeah,
qualification. So it was that fourth year. So I'd already finished my undergrad. Now I was doing my postgrad that
postgrad, yeah,
last year. So my last year of postgrad study was when I
mm,
took the gamble. Prior to that, I hadn't. I just
yeah,
accumulated debt for my university degree.
mm,
But here in Australia, we're really lucky because that's linked to our pay. So
yeah,
it's, you just pay it when you earn the money.
yes,
But see, even that's a really interesting thing because I was talking to a younger person just recently, and they've got a high university debt, which we call HEX debt here, for
mhm,
people who don't know what it's called. So for their HEX debt, um, like their payments, because I used to have to pay a lot. Like mine was a couple $100 every pay I was
mm.
paying off of my university, whereas their debt was actually a bit higher, but their payments were less. And so we had a look. The percentage I was paying back was nearly double what they're paying back now. And
Oh,
I just think that's really interesting because you hear so many people out there talking about, oh, they've got these really high university debts, which they have, like it's a lot of money, but they feel like they'll never pay it off. And I think, well, maybe they won't. Like it is going to take a really long time when the interest is like the amount that you, not
yeah,
interest,
yeah,
percentage that
yeah,
you've got to pay back out of your pay is quite small.
yeah,
And they complain about it. I don't know. I don't I don't understand people sometimes because I just think it's such a blessing that we live where we live and
yeah,
that we can put our university debts, like the government will loan us that money, and
yeah.
then we only pay it back when we earn enough money.
Is it people older than you? Because if I had stayed at school when I was a teenager, I would not have
And
had
relied on.
a debt had I gone to university. University was free,
Was that for all courses or just some
all
courses?
courses.
Mm,
So the reason they did that, it was paid many years before, but that meant only the rich could do it. So then they brought
mm,
in free university, and that was an awful long time ago. That was 50 years ago.
mm.
So, and I don't know
Well,
when
I
it
don't know whether
changed.
I agree with free university, to be honest. So I don't know when it
Yeah,
changed either. I've got no
yeah,
idea. Because I don't know. I'm not sure whether I think, well, I look at myself, for example. So I incurred a debt. Now, I had a Commonwealth supported place for my postgraduate. Well, I probably did for all of it, I suppose. The government already subsidises the universities quite a bit.
yeah.
Anyway, so I had my debt. the end of it, and I look and I think, well, in theory, I guess theory doesn't always work out in practice, but in theory, you've got a qualification, which means you'll be able to be on a higher income.
Yeah.
So in theory, you're going to earn more than you would earn if you were just, you know, in a non-professional qualification, unless you're a tradie, they earn really good money. But most people without the higher education are on lower incomes.
Yeah.
So if you've got the ability to earn a higher income, then why shouldn't you have to pay for that education?
Yeah. It's a catch-22. The other issue is if you don't pay for something, you don't respect it in general terms.
Mm,
I know with coaching and a lot of other stuff I've seen in the coaching and training industry online, people get something for nothing. They don't use it because they don't
mm,
respect, they don't care. They haven't invested. They've got no skin in the game.
mm,
So they don't apply themselves to it. So I can see it from both sides. But this
mm,
actually started the year I turned 17. In 1974, the Whitlam Labor government abolished
mm,
university fees, sorry, to make tertiary education in Australia more accessible to working and middle class. So,
mm.
and in 89, so that was only 15 years later, the Hawke government began gradually reintroducing the fees. And
Well, and this is where we've now got our HET fees where they loan us the money for
yeah,
it. I think that's a sweet spot because I see that the government is supporting us here
mm,
in Australia, is
yeah,
supporting us to be educated. And if you never earn a certain amount, you never have to pay it back anyway. So if
yeah,
you're only a low income earner, it's not like you're having to pay your debt off.
mm,
And also, though, I don't know whether they'll change it, but at the moment here in Australia, like your debt dies with you.
yeah, mm.
I mean, it would be maybe a bigger issue if your debt didn't die with you and you
I
didn't have a
bet
big
that
enough
changes
estate.
later. Mm,
Yeah, so I
yeah,
hope that doesn't change. But anyway, for the
yeah,
moment and certainly for a really long time,
mm,
you if you don't earn enough money, you don't have to pay it back anyway.
yeah,
And if you die, your family don't have to pay it
yeah,
back.
yeah. And for
So that
those
was
that
free education for that person in that
yeah,
case, wasn't
exactly.
it?
And I
Yeah.
know someone who's taken it up on that and done an art course and done that. And just for other people's understanding, HECS is for Higher Education Contributions Scheme. So we're not paying for the entire lot. We're contributing to the scheme. So, and I think that explains it really, really well. No, had I gone to uni at 17, it would have been free. I
Oh, but because
didn't.
you were older, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, you were the
exactly.
same as me. You're an oldie but a goodie.
Yeah, I went back later when the
Yeah.
fees had kicked in and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep, yep.
and did.
Yeah, well, that's the same as me. I had to pay mine off too. Yeah. Yeah. And I just say, well, I'm just grateful that I had that opportunity.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, really grateful.
Mm.
So,